Welcome to this month's newsletter. Today is February 29th. We're looking at the Nifty. As we all know, this was a really bad week in all the markets across the world. And I often get asked, is there a way that we could have known this? There's just no way. There are some things in which there is orderly decline which you can trade, and then there is some which is just pure panic. At that point, you just have your stops in place, you get stopped out, and most people are not nimble enough to change the direction and trade on the other side, especially since we don't have foreknowledge that it's going to have these huge, big kind of moves. Um, so the same scenario in the U.S. markets as well, just big moves, which are not really predictable by Ichimoku or candlesticks or anything. They give you the direction show you the reversals, and they allow you to make money when the things are trending. But things like these, which have a direct impact, very fast impact on the markets, you really can't use Ichimoku or things like that to know this. Now, you could have traded intraday to make money on these things, but changing bullish to bearish stance in the daily and the weekly postures take time, and there is a phase in between when the things are bullish on the dailies, or bearish on the weeklies, or vice versa. And it's you have to be really nimble in taking advantage of those times. So again, we'll get plenty of opportunities again to have decent trends. So it's okay if you don't, or if you couldn't trade this to the downside. If you look at the weekly chart, though, it's still bullish, even in spite of the big declines. We still are trading this channel sort of formation. So until I would be let me zoom in a bit. As you can see, there's a flat Senkou B down here around 11,040. So I would not be surprised to see them maybe at least test it intraday and bounce back up. If they do bounce up here, especially given the wild ride down, I wouldn't be surprised if they even have a relief rally, but then have a next leg down and please test this 1140 area for this span B and then go back up. But again, at this point, things are still bullish here on the Nifty until they break the Chicago below the candles and the index below the span B. Here's a place where there's a good chance to break down, where the Kumo is trending. But the bears are going to have a tough time breaking it down below this 1140-50 area, since it's a flat Senkou B. It really has to be convincing. So having said that, there are some stocks now at this point which you could have taken advantage of. As I keep saying, right? If the weekly is bearish and the daily is bearish, that's easier to make money than when the weekly is bullish and the daily is turning bearish. That's a difficult move. So having said that, let's look at a few things that people have asked. Here's one that Bale. So this one I was just showing. This was one thing you could have easily made money on, because you have your weekly was already bearish, right? So you know the bigger chart is bearish. You had a Chicago breakout to the downside. Very easy to make money on this one. So hopefully many of you took advantage of that. Here's LNT weekly. They had a Chicago breakout on the weekly, so it's bearish on the weekly, and even bearish on the daily. Was a nice Chicago breakout also on the daily, so nice one to have taken advantage of somewhere into the 12, maybe 1270 area. At this point, keep in mind that it's a big doji. Obviously, you're oversold after this move, so definitely take some profits off the table, and you are too far stretched out from the Kijun, so there might be a relief rally. I'm not saying it's going to be a bullish stock at this point. I'm just saying it could be a relief rally, and then if it has a nice decent setup, it could do a inverted 1, 2, 3 pattern. So keep that in mind. Same scenario here. Lupin on the weeklies bearish on the weeklies, doing a Chicago breakout to the downside. You look at the daily, had a nice Chicago breakout to the downside and also a Kumo breakdown. Again, as I said, there are some charts which you could definitely play to the downside with this move, which were already showing bearish on the higher time frame charts. So all you are looking for is confirmation of the daily chart time frames. Here's IOC, bearish on the dailies, bearish on the weeklies, bearish on the dailies. Nice one to play on the downside. This one was the difficult stock because here's a stock which was extremely bullish on the daily, and it's still bullish on the weekly. So at this point, even if they drag it down, you have a really nice flat Kijun here at 468, around that level. So you would expect them to continue to come down at least and bounce off that level because that's strong support. So this one is a strong chart. I would not want to short this one because first of all, your Kumo breakdown is not yet confirmed by the Chicago. There's a good chance that if the markets rally, have at least a relief rally, this one might be the first to bounce. I would keep this as a watch list for the long side. If they can take out these highs, I would not be afraid to buy it at that time. But to short it, the picture is not clear enough. One more stock which you can keep on the watch list for the buy side. Chicago running into resistance here, but it's a bullish stock on the daily and the weekly. I would expect this to consolidate here, and then when they do the next Chicago breakout, this should be on the buy list. Similar situation here in Tata Chemicals. It was a nice bullish stock after the Chicago breakout. Chicago running into congestion here. Weekly is bullish too. Gap down with a doji. If the bulls can at least hold it and drag it sideways, you might keep them in the watch list if they break it out over the 770 area for a buy. This one, somebody asked me, yes, Bank, is it time to buy? I wouldn't think so yet. Technicals are still bearish on the daily and the weeklies, obviously. This one, it's going to take time for this one to turn around and start heading up. Believe me, once it starts heading up, you'll get plenty of opportunities to buy, but at this point, you would not rather want to be playing the hero and buying it down here. And last one, Adani, same scenario here. It's bullish on the weekly. Had a nice Chicago breakout here. Hopefully, many took advantage of that. Use the Kijun as support, flat Kijun. And now notice that the Chicago did break down below the candles. However, they haven't yet broken down below the Kumo. It's still holding the Kumo, so I would not short this one. I would still keep this on the buy list. It's going to take time to turn this around. I don't expect a V turn around here, but something to keep on the watch list when things eventually improve. Now, if they do break down below the Kumo and the Chicago confirms it, then you need to look at the weekly chart. There's the Kijun here. If it goes flat, then you would have a strong support at that point. So if you want to play it to the downside, if they break it down below the daily Kumo, that would be your target. That will be it.